Hello YouTube, my name is YSM Matai and today I'll be talking to you guys about my fat tire bike and giving it a quick review. This is the Diamondback El Oso de Acero. The name or title of it is Spanish. The English translation is the Steel Bear, as this bike is made of steel. It was the cheapest model that Diamondback offered at the time they were selling it. They had 3 models available. This steel version at, I think it was just about $900. Aluminum rigid bike, which was $1,700, and that aluminum frame was shared with their top tier model, which was a hardtail, and that bike was $2,300. All of the bikes in their lineup were made to run 5-inch wide tires. This bike has 4-inch wide tires, and honestly, I don't really see being able to run a wider tire than that. Online, I believe I've seen someone run a 4.5-inch wide tire on this frame specifically, the steel version. I have chain rub on just a 4-inch wide tires, a 4-inch wide tire with a 1/11 gear ratio. So I don't believe that I would be able to run a 4.5-inch wide tire effectively on this bike, even though Diamondback claims that you could. This bike, when I got it, I purchased it used for $400. At the time, it still had most of the factory parts on it. Since I have replaced those parts with better parts that I just had sitting around my garage to keep the total build cost of this bike down. I did get a chance to ride it on the factory parts, and what I have to say about those is, for that MSRP of $900, you're not really going to be able to get a better fat tire bike. That's the reason why I purchased this bike. I was able to exchange the parts, and really with a bike, the parts are most of the bike, and to be able to purchase this bike and then be able to put new parts on as you go if you break them is probably going to be the best way to get you out there on the fat tire bike, instead of out of the box going and spending $3,000 on the top tier model that Diamondback had offered. And with being able to exchange the parts on it, it just makes the bike actually a usable bike. And there are cheaper fat bikes on the market. I think Diamondback even offers cheaper models, but it's not a real fat tire bike. You're not going to be able to do any actual bike riding on it. You won't be able to even really go out and buy a set of replacement cranks as the bottom brackets. It's just a Walmart quality bike, and it's not meant to last. It's a disposable object, honestly. It's not really a bicycle. And so this is going to be the cheapest bicycle that you could get without it being just a bicycle shaped object. This is going to be actually a usable bike that you can work on, replace your parts, and actually ride. And because when you are riding a bike, you're going to break stuff goes wrong, you just wear and tear of the road. It's a vehicle just like a car. There's just average wear and tear that occurs. So being able to replace stuff as that happens is the biggest part of a bicycle. This is the cheapest fat tire bike on the market. I think that is to that standard, besides for the framed Minnesota. I think that also might just be good enough, but I don't have experience with that bike to say. If you have experience with it, feel free to drop a comment below and let me know your experience with the frame to Minnesota. But back to this fat tire bike. I have ridden this bike extremely hard and taken it down terrain that it definitely is not supposed to go down. The other day when I made my fat tire bike check, I might have said this bike, I'm not sure if it's going to last through another season, and that had me thinking when I get another fat tire bike, not saying I will anytime soon after this thing breaks if it does, but when I get a new fat tire bike, would I sell this bike? And the answer is no. I think I would hold on to it just for my friends. If someone wanted to try fat biking, I would keep it just for them to ride or to have a beater fat tire bike. As this bike, I've used it and it's not necessarily the best bike. I'll list a few of the weak points I've found with the bike. So this is a large frame, and as it probably fits me, the style of riding I do, I would have probably preferred to get the medium or small. I don't necessarily know what size it is, but I'll attach a picture right now. With that frame, you share these same 26-inch wheels, but it's just better geometry. To have that frame tube straight like that would be way better for stunts and jumps like I do, and to keep the bike shorter. With these big huge wheels, I think it would make it a lot more controllable in rough terrain and when hitting jumps and drops and features like that. The second and only downside that I could see to this bicycle is the bolt-on wheels. Most fat tire bikes and just actual mountain bikes nowadays have a through axle. A through axle is pretty much the standard. I do have bicycles with bolt-ons, but that's not too typical. They're kind of oddball bikes, and as this thing is a bit of an oddball in itself, I'm not too stoked about the bolt-ons. The fat tire aftermarket bike parts, there's not a lot of aftermarket parts, you can't find them, and to have these hubs is even more limited, which is the only other downside I could see to the bicycle. The 1.125" straight just BMX style head tube isn't ideal either. I'd say a tapered would probably be better to put up with the stress of this fork, this big front wheel and the fork, but the fork also might be a little bit of a weak point as it's just a non-offset rigid fork, but honestly I don't think a lot of the rigid forks are offset. Don't take my word for that. I haven't looked into it much or put much thought into it, but as I'm looking over at my trials bike, the rigid fork on that is not offset, and my mom's cruiser bikes, but on my BMX bicycles they are offset. So I don't know, I'm just rambling at this point. Sorry to bother you, but I hope you've enjoyed this video. To sum it up, I'll just give you guys a quick rundown of my review on the bike. I think it's a great bike for the price point. The Bicycle Rumor, it's just a website. It's where I got some of my info about the bicycle on, and just stuff I didn't know, such as the price, etc. That's really it. But Bicycle Rumor, in their words, they said this bike was built and priced strictly for fun, or something along the lines of that, and I think that was a great way to put it. This bike, for the price point of it, MSRP or used at this point. You're not going to find a brand new bike like this one. So if you're buying it used, it most likely will be the cheapest fat tire bike you will come across. And if you've wanted to try fat tire biking, I recommend getting out in whatever way possible. So it could be worth purchasing, testing out, and just seeing how you like fat tire biking. I don't think it's for everyone, and I'm going to make another separate video on that. But it's always good to try new things and get out there, especially on a bicycle. It's a great way to travel and whatnot. So I don't know. I think it's a great bike, and that's gonna be the end of this review. Sorry for the strange ending. Thanks for watching. Stay dangerous, YSM life.